course, it's Ricardo Lamas. You're back here in the program. UFC Fight Night 98 now. Charles Oliveira coming up here November 5th. Obviously, was the main event on another card that gets canceled. So it comes out, obviously, BJ gets hurt. BJ Penn was his original opponent. Gets hurt. And then everything's still a go. Just that fight's going to get pulled off is the assumption, and everyone's going to get moved up. You know, the lower bouts in the card would get moved into the main event, and, you know, co-main event now becomes main event. Then they cancel the fight entirely. It comes out the president of the Philippines wants to drug test everybody coming in the country for the UFC. That's all the ring guys, all the cameramen, all the electric, all the grips, all the media marketing people. Everyone's going to get drug tested. And everybody that's got drugs in their system of any sort are obviously going to get kicked out, because that's what the new president's trying to do is eradicate the drug problem. You obviously don't have a drug problem. You obviously have passed every test you've ever been in. So the fight being first of all, let's go through. They call you and go, hey, look, BJ's hurt, fight's off. Was there ever a time when they were like, we're trying to find you a replacement opponent, or they told you automatically, BJ's out, we're not going to be able to find anybody to cover a slot, so we're going to move you to a different card?
No, they were trying to find another opponent. So this is how it happened. It was literally my last day here in Miami. I was packing up the car to drive back home with my wife and kid, and I just happened to jump on Twitter, and I saw, like, you know, rumors being tweeted, oh, BJ Penn out of, you know, UFC Fight Night Manila, and I was like, oh, great. So, you know, usually when you see those, when it's, you know, multiple people on Twitter tweeting that out, it's usually true. So I hopped on the phone and called my brother who helps manage me, and he you know, made a call out to Sean Shelby, and Sean said that they were trying to get BJ to a doctor to see exactly what was going on, but to just, you know, sit tight, that, you know, nothing was going to happen yet. And then by the time I got home back to Chicago, the drive, I found out that, you know, BJ was out, that maybe Brian Caraway was trying to step up and take his spot. And then, you know, I think later on that same day, it came out that the entire event was canceled. So I was kind of in limbo. I didn't know if I was going to fight. I assumed that they were going to take that fight with Caraway. That's what they told me. They're like, you still want to fight Caraway? Yeah, fine, whatever. Okay, we'll do it in Mexico November 5th. But when they went back to Caraway about it, I guess he tried to renegotiate for more money, and they told him no. So then, again, I was left without a fight. There was another opponent they thought they could set up for me, Mirsad Bektik, but apparently he hurt his knee or had to get his knee checked out, something like that, so that fell through. And then he said, you know, Charles Oliveira wants to fight. So we're like, yeah, let's go. It was a crazy, crazy time.
You know, I'm not as good at it as Chael Sonnen is. He'll get on the internet and, like, start. You know, he'll spend all day just battling back and forth with the internet trolls. I got in a couple of battles where they're like, yeah, but the entire, you know, everyone should be drug tested coming in, you know, going in. Like, why not? Like, they're drug testing the athletes. They should drug test everybody. I'm like, well, I got to be honest with you. Arthur Blank, the owner of the Atlanta Falcons, Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, is not getting drug tested. Okay? So for you to go in and hit Dana White and say he has to be drug tested, and hitting the camera guy, the NFL camera guy, the guy that controls that camera that goes across the entire field, he's not getting drug tested, to my knowledge. I could be wrong. But why? Like, I get the athletes being drug tested. I understand that. But do you have any rhyme or reason why you would think that if you do, I don't know which way you feel, but that the entire staff should be drug tested coming in someplace? Like, should the marketing department for the UFC be under drug testing rules as well?
No, not at all. The Philippines took it. You know, the president of the Philippines took it way over the top. You know, this is a guy who went and told the people of the Philippines, if you see somebody dealing drugs on the street or doing drugs, you could kill them on the spot and you will not get in trouble for it. So there have been a bunch of, you know, vigilante killings all over the Philippines because of this guy. So he's obviously messed up in the head a little bit. You know, he's you know, telling people they could take the law into their own hands. So it doesn't surprise me that he would want to test the entire roster and all employees of the UFC coming in. The guy's nuts.
That, and he's also some guys that they have caught with drugs on them. Once there's no appeal process, once they're decided, yes, you have the drugs on you, whether for personal use or for distribution, the amount does not make a difference. They were immediately executed. Like, so there was no process. There was no, like, oh, call your parents. It was like, yo, you're dead. You're dead. And they just line them up and done them. So
this guy's crazy.
Yeah,
He's quoted to say that he is the Hitler of the Philippines.
Yeah, yeah, he's a little crazy. So comes my next thing. Philippines is a poor country. It's not a first world country. It's not a country with a lot of technology, there's a lot of money in it. UFC brings about $10 million to the economy whenever they show up someplace. About $10 million US what they're bringing to the economy. I kind of think the president, because he didn't really understand how important the UFC would have been to his economy, how much money that would have brought in for local flavor, that he just kind of, he shot himself in the foot. Do you think that's going to make it harder for the UFC to expand, or easier for the UFC to expand in the Pacific area, in the Pacific Rim?
I don't know. I've heard like Singapore is also like that, like zero tolerance for drugs. So, I mean, I'm sure there are some places.
Singapore does caning. They whip you with a cane. They don't execute you. Remember we had that one kid, the one kid that got caught tagging over there. He was tagging on a building. Yeah. They gave him he went to court. His sentencing was like 4 canes, like 4 hits with a cane. That was his punishment. It was like, okay, well, it's 4 hits with a cane. It could have been firing squad, but they gave you 4 hits with a cane. That was it. That's their culture. I get it. See, that I totally understand. That's the way they are, and you know that going in. This new over-the-top thing with the Philippines, I'm kind of like, I get geopolitical economics. I get politically how it works out, but it's like, from our sports standpoint, we're not going back to the Philippines ever. Like, it's just not going to happen. We're not going to the Philippines.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
We'll go to Guam. Guam is another American territory. We'll go to Guam. We'll go to Japan. Obviously, UFC trying to get into Japan. Right. And then, of course, ONE FC is all over the Orient at this point. But yeah, it's got to be nerve-wracking for you, where you're like, huge long trip, like got to go all the way to the Philippines, bunch of layovers, got to fight, don't got to fight, got to fight, don't got to fight at all. Now, even on another card, now I'm just going down the street to Mexico.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it happened. And that's the sport. This isn't the first fight that I've had canceled on me. Back a couple of years ago, I was supposed to fight Korean Zombie, and that got totally X'd out, and I didn't get another opponent. And it just happens sometimes. Injuries are very rampant in the sport. We fight every single day, so injuries are going to happen. And it's just a part of the sport that you gotta roll with these punches. So
your last fight out, you fought Max Holloway, you lost a decision. Before that, you beat Diego Sanchez, also in decision. And before that, Chad Mendez. We can go back all the way. Go back through your entire career. So now with Charles Oliveira, you're coming off a loss. But how important is this fight now? I mean, obviously coming off a loss, getting ready to fight BJ. That's you're beating a legacy. You're beating a legend. You're beating a Hall of Famer. When you have that fight, you win, and then it's like, well, you beat a Hall of Famer. That's a good feather in your cap. But really, he's been out for so long. There's no real ranking that's going to help you. It's not going to put you up any higher in the ranks. It's not going to help you getting towards a title shot. Charles Oliveira, though, how is he going to be for the ranking system when you beat him? How is it going to be for you within getting yourself back towards in line for a title shot?
It's definitely much larger of a step up than it would be with a victory over BJ Penn. Like you said, BJ, he's only had one fight at 45, which he lost against Frankie Edgar. He's not ranked. He's a huge name, but like you said, it's just a feather in the cap. But with Oliveira, he's ranked in the top 10, and a win over him is going to bring me a step closer to that title again. So I think a win over Oliveira, 1 or 2 more wins after that against top-ranked guys, and I'm right back in there.
So your weight class is kind of being held hostage at this point. McGregor's obviously going to fight Eddie Alvarez. The UFC saying he's going to have to vacate the belt at 45, which he should have had to vacate, over almost a year ago now. It's been almost 2 years since he's defended the belt at 45 because of the Diaz fights, and now with this fight, it's just getting too long. And it used to be if you didn't defend it within a year, you lost the belt. And so that's kind of what I feel. If that's still in his contract, that should have happened. But it is Conor McGregor. He is the biggest star right now the UFC has. I get it. I get giving him some leeway. I understand that. But the UFC is now saying, hey, we're taking the belt away from you. Win at 55. He's saying, no, I'm going to go down and defend it at 45 and defend it at 55. But you guys have been stuck. Like, you guys are kind of caught. There's an interim title fight. But now Jose Aldo wants out. He wants out of the UFC. He's like, this is just retarded. It doesn't make any sense. So you beat Oliveira. You're like 2 fights, 2 more wins away from being like next in line for a shot because of how this guy's tied up, that guy's tied up. We got to get it. We got to get the belt out there. Okay, now it's Ricardo Lamas, but it could not happen that way. The belt still could be being held hostage. What do you do? Obviously, you get offered a title fight, you're taking it. I mean, that's just obvious. We know that about you for sure. Yes, I'm taking the title shot. I'm going in. If the belt gets held hostage, what happens then at that point? And you're in the top 5. What do you do at that point?
I keep taking fights and making money. That's the main goal here. I got to support my family, and so make more money, renegotiate my contract maybe if there's no title fight in sight. Because I think we should at least be getting more money than if there's no title to fight for. So, first and foremost, I'm a prize fighter. I fight for money, and that's how I make my living. So whether the belt is there or not, I'm going to keep fighting.
So then we get into a situation where your weight class specifically, the sport's already kind of going this way, that it now becomes about entertainment. You don't care any longer about the rankings. Right now you care about the rankings because you're trying to get towards a title fight. The title fight, if the title gets hamstrung, gets held up, and you can't fight for a title, then it becomes a position where you've got to fight named guys that are going to give you value. They're going to get you, bigger name fights, which could be a guy that's ranked 20th, like a BJ Penn. All of a sudden now the name recognition becomes much more important, right, than the actual rank of this guy.
Yeah, it's been shown time and time again in this sport. Like, you get hype behind your name, it doesn't matter what you're ranked. Conor McGregor flew up through the rankings, because of the hype around him. So that's definitely a possibility also.
And Max Holloway, he just lost to, was ranked 3rd at the weight class, and he's stuck. I'm not sure he's going to fight soon. I think they just announced it. I'm not positive if they announced it or not, so I don't want to say, but I know that he's going to be fighting soon. And it's kind of like I have no other options. Like that's honestly like how he approaches. Like I really don't have any options. I got to fight. I got to, like you said, I got to provide for my family. I've got a wife. I've got a son. I got to take care of the family. I can't do that if I'm not fighting. But there's no title shot coming up. So what are we going to do? And I do believe that his manager renegotiated his contract since the title fight's not coming, just because they don't know what they're doing right now at the weight class. And do you feel like right now that Conor McGregor is kind of in control of the UFC because the way he's able to dictate and say what he's going to do and how he's going to do things next?
That's what it's been looking like. All these things Dana says, Conor's not going to do this, he's not going to do that, and then a week later, Conor is doing this and doing that. He's doing exactly what Dana said he wasn't going to do. He's got a lot of negotiating power behind his name, and he's got a huge following. So it happens, man. I mean, we've seen it in other sports with big stars, guys that shouldn't be, getting the special treatment that they're getting it, but they're getting it because of how big of a star they are.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. We've seen it happen in the NFL this last week. We've got a couple of cases that come out where, a big name, couple big name football players got a slap on the wrist when other guys got crushed for the exact same instance, but they're on 3rd string. They're the scout team.
Right.
It happens in every sport, like you said. It goes without saying. That's just what the star power. That's what entertainment's about. Like, you have that kind of star power, you get away with a lot more. So let's just say in a year from now you're fighting Conor for the belt. Okay, you have another year of growth. You've won 3 more fights in a row. You finished Oliveira, and then the next 2, and all of a sudden they're calling you up for the title shot. In a year from now, knowing that you're probably going to have to fight Conor in a year, how does training change for you, knowing that, hey, in a year from now I win these next 3, I'm going to be fighting Conor? How does your training change for a guy like Conor McGregor between now and then?
Apart from bringing in southpaws to spar with, I don't think it changes that much. I still feel like every camp I improve a little bit. So once I feel like I plateau and I stop improving, then I'll change something up. But as long as I'm improving through every camp, don't fix something that isn't broken.
So the same for if you had to fight a guy like Max Holloway, same thing. Just right-handed guys, same thing. Camp goes on as is. So
yeah. Did
you have to change anything at all during this training camp for Oliveira because we're getting ready for BJ Penn? Then you had a little bit of break, and then boom, they announced you got Oliveira. And in the middle there, you thought you had Caraway. So did you change up any portion of your training specifically for those individuals?
Well, the whole Caraway thing, no. That was only a couple days where it was really wishy-washy if I was going to fight him or not. Oliveira, there are similarities between him and BJ. They both have real good ground game. The only real difference is, Oliveira's a bit taller than BJ, so I just started sparring with, the taller guys in the gym. that was probably the biggest change that I had to get used to, is just that distance that you have to keep, and working your way inside on a taller opponent.
You came down to Miami to train for the BJ Penn fight. You were driving back. You get the announcement. It's not happening. How long have you been in Miami now for this fight, for this training camp?
I got in on Sunday, so I flew back and rented a car because I'm not making that drive again. And I'll be here until next Friday, and then I fly home, and then Saturday I leave for Mexico.
Okay. Obviously, your wife and kids stayed back up in Chicago this time then, right?
Yeah, they stayed back. They hung back this time.
Okay. So usually you drive down because you've got you have a menagerie of animals with you all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming
nobody didn't bring that many with me this time. It was just my wife, my son, and one of my dogs.
Okay. You didn't bring you have a bird, right? You have a bird too?
Yeah, I got a African gray parrot.
What the hell is wrong with you? So these things travel with you every time you go down to Miami? They all come with you, or?
Well, it depends. If I'm by myself, like if I'm coming out, like my last camp, I did the entire camp by myself. So that's why I brought company with me. I brought my bird, my dog, and one of our chameleons. And so they all.
I thought it was like a you didn't want to have to put them in a kennel, or while you were gone. You just get lonely.
I just get lonely, yeah. I just it's. My dad explains it very well. He takes care of one of my dogs whenever I go out of town or whatever, and he likes it. He says it's therapeutic, and I thought about that. I'm like, yeah, it does. It kind of gives you a routine, and it just, I don't know, it makes you feel a little better taking care of something else, So for me, it's definitely something that'll occupy. You see, right now I'm here by myself, and literally when I'm done training, I'm sitting here not saying a word to anyone, just it's crazy. So at least when I have one of the pets with me or the dog or something, they keep me entertained.
It's funny, and I'm not saying that you're old, but my mom lives by herself, and she would blow my phone up like 3, 4, 5 times a day talking about the same crap she talked about yesterday. I'm over it. She got a dog. Now she has a dog that she takes care of. I'm not hear from her for a whole week. Like it might be a whole week before she calls back in again. It's like, oh yeah, she was kind of lonely. And I saw her. I went to Vegas last weekend and saw her, and she was great. Like the best I've seen her in a couple of years. Like mobile and moving is just because she has this. She has to get up, and take the dog out to eat. She has to get up, and I've caught her having full blown conversations. So I get it, being by yourself, especially when you have a family and you're used to the chaos of the animals and your kid and your wife and everything, and all of a sudden you have no chaos in between practices. You're kind of like, all right, what do I do now? All right, you're just kind of bored. So I get it.
Very bored.
Yeah, being on the road is a lonely thing. I do tend to call back to Jill a lot when I'm on the road. But if I'm here, she might not hear from me for the whole day until she comes home from work. And she's like, but if I'm gone, I'll call her work like 5 times.
Yeah, at least you get that physical interaction with them at the end of the day,
Yeah.
I get to go home at the end of the day when I'm back home, and I get that release, playing with my kid and talking to my wife. It makes me completely forget about the gym and all the stresses that comes along with fight life. So being here by yourself, it kind of sucks. You don't get that release after the gym. You sit here by yourself, and then you start thinking about the practice you just went through. If you had a bad practice, God forbid, then you're stewing about that until the next day, until you go back in there and do better. But that's why I like to, bring some pets with me sometimes if I'm by myself.
So how's your weight? I mean, because now you're by yourself, you get lonely, and people tend to, I got nothing else to do. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm also, snack. I'm also going in the refrigerator because I'm bored again. Are you having problems with the weight now that you?
I'm the opposite. So if I'm by myself, like when I go shopping at the grocery store, it's no crap food or whatever. When my wife was here, oh my God. Every day, oh, hey, you're on the way home, stop and grab me a sandwich from the Cuban spot down there. And I'm just like, she's eating in front of me. And, that's when I'm like, let me have a bite of your sandwich or something like that. But when I'm by myself, I'm a lot more disciplined. And, I'm doing real good with my diet right now. So weight's fine. Yeah, no problem.
How long did you take off between the cancellation of the fight and then the announcement of the next fight? Was there any time off or?
Not really. I mean, the drive back was about 24 hours that day. So we left on a Tuesday. We got back late Wednesday. I took Thursday off just because I was dead from the drive. We drove straight through about 20 hours nonstop. The only time we stopped was for gas. So Thursday I took off, and then I was back in the gym Friday, Saturday. Obviously I take off every Sunday, and then, back to the grind again on Monday.
I gotta be honest with you. Like, I talked to Sam Alvey too, who was on your card, same situation, and then I believe he's on this card too. I know he's got a fight coming up. I interview him here in the next little bit. He same thing. I interviewed him right before. Yeah, he was on your card originally, Manila. Now he's on this card as well, fighting Alex Nicholson. He went through the same thing. It was just kind of like, what are you gonna do? Like, I can complain and bitch and moan and yell and scream, but the reality of it is I still never fight. And I still have to keep training and hope that somebody gets me in. And his only complaint was he wanted to be on the Henderson-Bisping fight card because Henderson's his coach. He trains with him.
Right.
It was Dan's last fight, and then he's going to retire. He wanted to be on that card. He begged to be on that card. They said, no, we'll put you on Manila right after. And then that one got canceled through. He's like, I could have been on the card. I could have been on the Bisping Henderson card. That's the only complaint he had. But other than that, he just you two just kind of were like, like it's just what it is. I got to keep moving.
What are you gonna do? Complaining isn't gonna make it any better,
Absolutely not. It's gonna make it worse because then you get all that stress and it ruins everyone around you because you're complaining too. So it's actually, you guys have a great attitude. I hope this train camp went as well as I think it did. I've heard rumors from some of the other teammates how well it was going to begin with for the BJ fight. Now for this one, how it just ramped right up. Like, there wasn't that much of a change. It just kept going. You kept climbing as opposed to peaking and falling off a little bit. You still had some time left to peak, so it's been good.
Yeah, I kept up with the training back home. It wasn't as intense, so it kind of gave my body a little bit of a break. And then when I got back here, I shot up again, and my conditioning is great. I feel good, no injuries, nothing like that. And, I think it worked out for the best in the end.
Yeah, it looks like it did. All right, Ricardo, thanks so much, man. Have fun against Charles. It's going to be a great fight. UFC Fight Night 98. I'll be at home watching it for sure because I'm just not making a trip to Mexico. Not this time.
Hey, come on, man.
I want to. I really do. I really want to because I like Mexico City. I really do enjoy Mexico City. I just don't have time to get down there right now.
Well, if you make it out there, tequila shots on me, all right?
Hey, don't tempt me with a good time. That's that actually. Now I'm thinking about it.
Now you might. Yeah, there you go.
All right, man. Have a great rest of your training camp. We'll talk again soon.
All right. Thanks a lot, Frank.